A detour is not a dead end. It is a bend in the road, a shift in direction, a moment that asks us to pay attention. And in this episode of the Detour Degree, the detour becomes a metaphor for the nuance of implementing AI in education, where promise meets pressure, innovation meets caution, and educators are asked to lead before all the answers are clear. Today, Rachel Lugo joins us to explore what it means to move through the complexity with care, keeping students, teachers, and human judgment at the center of the road ahead. Hello, hello, and welcome to the new season of the Detour Degree. And this year, I'm excited to welcome you again, everyone who's listening, and to a new format, which I'm calling the Great Debates. And what we want to do with the Great Debates is really add nuance to the AI in education question. And with that, I want to introduce my first great debater, Rachel Lugo. Rachel, would you mind telling our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm Rachel Lugo. I'm a PhD student at George Mason University, and I'm also a middle school teacher in the Washington, D.C. area, and just really interested in AI and seeing how it's impacting my class already right now.
Well, first of all, you're surviving working with middle school students. So that alone
Yeah, they're
is
the best though.
nothing like a seventh grader, though.
Yeah. Keep you on your toes for sure.
Yes, they do. They do. Well, you mentioned that you're in a PhD program and that you're looking about how AI is impacting your classroom. So when you think about that initial aspect of it, like the purpose of learning, for example,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
When ChatGPT was released into my classroom, I was kind of like, yes, this is so exciting. It was just kind of that immediate realization that, oh, this is going to change education into a way that I kind of have always believed it should be, and maybe not in a place that we were at before. And this was going to force the change. And so I'm really excited about the possibilities of what this means.
I'm thinking about that, and you're right. I mean, ChatGPT came across the scene and it was like, whoa, but as an educator, some of my first thoughts is this the next shiny object? Is this the one and done? And, I close my door as a teacher and move on. And it
Right.
sounds to me like you're saying with AI, that's just not the case. And so help me understand because I still in my mind, I'm thinking, what is going to come next?
Right. Yes. It is really like how thoughtful we are about how we are using the tool. Is this a tool that I'm using to help me further pedagogy, to help me have my students be able to access something they couldn't before or support them in a way that I couldn't before? What I worry about sometimes is thinking about it as that shiny new tool and oh, look at this cool thing, and I can play with, talking to George Washington, and now that's my history lesson. And like, I don't really view doing it that way as being the exciting piece of it. I'm at a school with mostly neurodivergent learners. And we've been using AI already, anyways, thinking about how much that has improved and how much access that has allowed some of my students to be able to be involved in conversations and to be able to get thoughts out that maybe they were struggling to get out before, even with working memory issues, et cetera. So I'm really excited about the access piece of it and just the deeper thinking that maybe students have been blocked from before because having to get through some of the processing, like now we can offload some of that processing to allow us access to thinking. So that's what's
That's,
exciting.
I think they're calling cognitive offloading, right? Is there a danger that we are actually impacting critical thinking skills, other thinking skills, just based on offloading some of these ideas? I mean, I can see it because I don't
Mhm.
know about you, but when I'm using generative AI, there are times that I do tend to see myself like, oh, just give me a hint, and I'm feeling kind of stuck. I don't know. Are kids ready for that type of offloading?
I know. That is something I am always wrestling with too, because I am the same way. But I'm wondering if I was a middle school student and I just need to get to point B and I can get that assignment done in 10 seconds, what's the point of me wasting that time? I want to go play soccer or Fortnite or what, whatever the cool thing is at that moment. So it is really what I've been trying to do in my own classroom is having that intentional discussions with students. I actually was lucky enough to do a thing with our entire seventh grade this week where we were just having that moment to actually stop and have that discussion of what are the parts of my brain that I want to be using and really thinking about too, like creativity. Is that a piece of myself that I want to offload, that I want to weaken, but I also know that just having that conversation alone isn't going to stop some students from wanting to do it anyways. So it really is going to have to be that intentionally using it and when am I bringing the tool into the classroom? So yes, I think it's a big worry.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because that brings another layer onto it. And we talk about the cognitive offloading, perhaps the impact to critical thinking, other thinking skills, but also the impact to creativity. What I'm hearing is that, hey, here are the issues, but here are the reasons why I'm still using it in my classroom. How are you balancing those risks, for lack of a better word, with your decision to say, I'm going to use these tools in the classroom?
Right. So my big philosophy is I'm really into concept-based inquiry learning. And so a lot of that does start with the human first thinking and really thinking about our context. And then it's really thinking about when am I going to bring in the AI and why am I bringing it in and being extremely clear with the students on that. For instance, we were having a debate and I allowed them to ask Magic School to share maybe areas that they missed when they were thinking about their civilizations. But I said to them, you have to go find an actual source though afterwards. So maybe you can get a really cool idea that came from Magic School, but that is not your source. So then making sure that we're having that discussion too, you should go back and actually make sure you're seeing where this is coming from. I like to start with just kind of some basic, this is how an LLM or Gen AI works with the students. I love MIT's Day of AI. It's just such a nice hands-on way for the kids to learn without having to interact with AI actually yet. I think the AI literacy piece has to go before the usage piece.
So you're saying AI literacy first. I'm just even wondering, is AI literacy separate from like digital literacy or digital citizenship? I sometimes struggle with, should it be separate? Does it take a teacher
Right.
extra time to say, here's this thing, like digital literacy, now here's this other thing?
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it should be integrated into every single class. Every single teacher needs to think about their AI policy and for their class and really how are you discussing it with your students? The way I might go about it is really having that conversation and having them write out how they think the usage should be first. But if that's not how you do it, you still need to be very clear as a teacher with students on what your policy is. What scares me is no usage at all because students are going to find a way to use it anyways. So there has to be some kind of AI literacy with teachers, even if they don't want to use it, because they're still going to have to be able to have those conversations. It's got to be in every single classroom because it's touching every single classroom.
But as a teacher, and like you said, you're a middle school teacher, what have you taken off of your plate,
Mm.
or how have you made that adjustment to add just one more thing to your plate? Because I know when I was in the classroom, I mean, my plate was full. It's just hard to add something extra.
It's so layered for me because I am such a proponent of inquiry and project-based learning. So it's that little bit of time you put into it, you get so much time back once you start using that. So that's time back. So for me, it just feels like a big time saver more than anything.
But I'm sure you can understand just the opposite view of the teacher that's out there that's like, there's no way I can fit this in.
Yeah.
And there's no way, like, the risk for me as a teacher, I need my kids to think, I don't want them to just have an over reliance on a technology. Are we adding these tools? And it's not changing the learning experience. It's just another tool.
Right.
Um, I mean, are is that something that you've heard? I know I've heard it. I know I've experienced it. How do we add that bit of nuance for those teachers? Because there are so many teachers out there who just are not convinced. In my bubble, I could go all day and think that everyone in the world loves loves AI, but then I go out and I'm talking to teachers and talking to leaders, and that's definitely not the case.
Yes, I'm sure everyone's kind of heard that. Like, let's go back to the paper and pencil approach, and like that's what Sweden's going to do. And so maybe that's what we should be doing. And our kids are in front of screens too much, and that's what the problem is with learning. For some teachers, like maybe it doesn't make sense to have that in your classroom right now, depending on your pedagogy and how that works in your classroom. The thing I've noticed though is it's banned in their class, but then they'll catch students using it to do work. And that's the point where I'm like, okay, well, then a conversation needs to happen. If it's being used anyways, and we're only going to use punishment for its use, then this is when there needs to be a different conversation that's happening. There's so many positive uses, right? Where you can have a notebook LM, you can have something quiz you, you can have a tutor at 2 a.m. in the morning when maybe you don't have access to the teacher at that time. The amount of equity that it can bring is so big if we just are aware of it. What are we willing to be uncomfortable with and learn? Just because it is going to be something our students are dealing with, whether we like it or not.
I get it. So just imagine me, constant skeptic, cautious advocate, and I am in the classroom next door, and you're inquiry based, project based, and I'm like, no, I am not using this. What is your pitch to say, Naka, you need to incorporate artificial intelligence into your classroom, into the learning experiences for your kids?
Yeah, I would never say someone has to do something. I would say, but have you tried? Have you played with this one? I think the other tricky part is when people are so against it, but they've never used it. It's kind of like some of your authority goes away because it's like, well, if you haven't tried it, how do you know?
This is a part of the reason why I think just debating, talking through, asking the questions, positioning ourselves, of what does it look like for a teacher? What does it look like for a leader who are dealing with these realities? I can go through the stories that I'm hearing, but you're actually living it in real time.
Hmm.
And I am sure that that has been an experience. Um, Before we kind of pivot a little bit, I do have one wondering is just for you, what do you see as the biggest difference like pre Chat GPT and
Hmm.
post Chat GPT in terms of your experiences as a teacher with these tools? I mean, you mentioned saving time. Is that's the most impact you've had as a teacher? And then what about for your kids or maybe the learning environment in which your kids are exposed to learning every day?
Hmm. For me, my environment hasn't changed a ton, actually. Again, because it's been very like question what are they interested in is what's usually driving. And I have my end goal, I have my standards that we're working towards, but it's always changes depending on which classroom I'm in or which country I'm living in at the time. I just had a student this last week, we were writing a 5 paragraph essay, and he asked me after they did some peer reviews, hey, Miss Lugo, can I have the rubric? And I was like, oh, like you have the paper one. He's like, no, can I have the electronic one? Because I want to put it into Gemini and then see how that works against my paper and see what I need to improve. And I was like, wow, I thought that was really cool that he wants to go and make his changes with that. And also, though, it's part of the process. Like a big piece of how I've always thought about it is the process and the feedback. It's cool to have an extra feedback buddy kind of in the loop when I'm using AI, but I still want to see what they did before they made the changes. And I like having some annotations. So I think being a process teacher, a ton hasn't changed for me, but it's added that extra person. Because, like, when I was teaching in public school and I had 27 students, that was a lot more time on feedback. Would just be so curious what that back and forth discussion could have looked like with more students. Just
So you're saying that if you were still in a class with 27 students, you would be more inclined to use some type of AI powered feedback tool as a way to help you reach students, or you would be more hesitant to use the tool?
well, I don't know because I would still want to see it. I still like to go in and look at the transcript in magic school. So it would be cool for me to see 27 different people's thinking and them to truly be able to follow that thread. Can I check on 27 kids? I don't know. I know the overviews are getting really good, but I think skepticism is still good.
Keeping a teacher in the loop. I love it.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I'm hearing though, and this just goes back to what people are thinking about AI, like AI is breaking education. Like it's broken. I know there was even a story last week about how a law school has decided you can't use AI for anything because it's breaking what we're doing. Why would you make such a dramatic change for students to say you can't even use it for editing, you can't use it for processing, you can't use it for brainstorming? So the argument, right? The resolved in the debate. Did AI break education?
It is already broken.
Okay.
There's my hot take. So we have this compliance forward way of how a lot of education is. Can you answer it in the right amount of time? Do we have our times table memorized? Do we have our states in the state capitalized? What we should have been thinking this whole time is how can we synthesize? How are we measuring that students can be creative, that they can collaborate, that they can do all of these human skills? I think education's been broken for a while. And I think those of us that have been in education, we've known that these tools are showing us one snapshot in time for a certain type of learner.
Let me back up a little bit. You're
Uh,
saying that AI didn't break the system. It was already broken in the way that we're measuring or that we're not measuring the important skills that students need. And then we're kind of almost measuring for compliance in a way. But once a kid enters society, I mean, there's so much compliance
right?
that they have to deal with. And so whether it be in the workforce, whether it be just in life in terms of how we pay our bills, how we operate in society. And
Right.
so is there a place for compliance in this AI driven society?
Yeah, I think we still have to be able to talk to each other and work with each other. There still has to be norms. There's certain consequences when we're acting in a way that is hurting our community. And there's still places for all of that. Like, are we being thoughtful? Are we being intentional?
Yeah. So one of the pieces that I'm starting to do when I see headlines and I make the decision to click, which is very rare. Usually what I'll do is when I see one of these headlines, just because I'm like, I don't know what this clickbait is leading to, I will go and enter it into a search engine
Mhm.
and see like if it's saying this is from the New York Times or this is from some other type of publication or from a school district. And so to I preface that to say is that I did see a report that came across, and what it stated was that a news publication is also saying not to use AI tools
Mhm.
even for editing, etc. And so going back to thinking about what we aren't assessing for,
Hmm.
one of the comments was from someone who said, I need these tools for accessibility. Like,
Hmm.
I am not just using them to offload cognition. I really need these tools.
Right.
And so thinking about that example, thinking about the example from the law school, what about a broken system do you think is preventing organizations, institutions from embracing these tools, then going to the extent of actually banning them, given those cases?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of like we were talking about before too, is like when's the time to do this? What is the training? How much time we're gonna have to take and invest in things, and like how much do I have to change how everything works currently in my school? It's hard to change and it's hard to not know what's gonna happen. And I think that's the other big part is like none of us have any clue what's going to happen next year. Like, sure, we've always been able to say that, but now it really feels like we do not know. So I would guess there's some fear.
But what's interesting is that I'm not seeing the nuance. I'm
Yeah.
seeing the all in, or I'm seeing the no go. I know that some institutions, for example, let's say you're having a submissions process. And before you used to get 100, but because now you get AI, now you have 5,000.
Right.
Many of them sound alike, and there's no soul to the writing.
Mhm.
And so I can see how someone could say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Let's ban it. This is not working. Um at
Yeah.
the same time, I am reminded of one of the superintendents who I work for. He had a great quote that I love to use from time to time, and it's like, let your conscience be your guide. And I really do feel like if we're taking a nuanced approach, we can start to look at these creativity
Hmm.
aspects of it and say, why not just, if you're using it, you're using it. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't want us to get as a society where people are feeling like they're on the dark web if they are using AI. But I feel like that's where we're going. It's like if you're putting this ban in place, it goes back to, when has a ban ever stopped anyone from
Right.
doing what they want to do anyway? And
Right.
so um I can see where that type of decision is, someone's like, we have to find a way just quick. Like it has to be done, rip the band-aid off, no one's using it at all. I also see how someone could be impacted by that type of decision, and is it best over time? I remember when people were banning, when ChatGPT first came out and it was like ban, ban, ban. I was one of
Right.
them. As a chief academic officer, I banned it, but it was more because of the terms of service.
Mm,
Um,
that's fair. But
I, yeah, it is a tough decision to make, but I'm hoping that with more conversation, that more people can start to see there's so much gray in between, let's go all in and not think about these things versus let's ban everything. Either
right.
one of those sides are not going to work. And mostly it's going to impact our kids in a way.
Yes.
Now, I will say this. I am not so sure, honestly, and I would love to know your point in this. Is AI going to be the thing? Is there something else on the horizon? Are we investing too much into AI in terms of the amount of capital, not in terms of the amount of money, the human investment,
Hmm.
as well? So that's the part where I think I'm having the most time kind of struggling, in the own nuance that I
Right.
have. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, with quantum computing coming up at us,
Yes.
I don't know. That's something else for me to learn about. Yes. businesses are using it, the government's using it, other countries are using it, and they're training their students way younger and way more, which it's been adopted a lot quicker. Like I know if you're looking at how China's doing things and how India's doing things, like their students are they're using it in kindergarten. The nuance still seems to be, from what I've read, I don't know, I haven't read every single article on that, but it does seem like the nuance seems to be missing there too, of talking about the harms with students. I do think it is worth our time to be thinking about it. I mean, thinking about the environmental impact and having the students think about those things, thinking about workers and other places training it when they don't even know that they're training it. I think these are all like other ethical issues that are going to need to be a thing that we're discussing in classes too. We did a little bit of that with our seventh grade, and I was lucky enough on Tuesday to kind of have like an AI literacy for like 3 hours with them and really just thinking about accountability. But it was that nuanced discussion. That's a big thing that we're going to have to wrestle and think about is like what is the point of school and what are we doing with this? We just finished a dystopian unit, so maybe my it is also
I
there
love my dystopian units.
with the compliance part of everything too. If our goal is to have nice compliant citizens of school, which has kind of felt like that was the old model, was like, let's get ready for war, let's get ready for work, let's get ready to be a successful person that can contribute to society in a way that makes us money, which now if AI is taking all of the jobs, that's another question too. What is our humanity? What's our human role? What do we want? I don't know. Wow, that
That's
got
interesting.
me.
Well, and it goes back to, I definitely want to circle back because someone made this point, and I wish I could credit them. It's not coming from me, but it gave me another sense of perspective on a global scale. And you talked about China, you talked about India, and
Mhm.
then you mentioned the privacy implications of, these young learners being online, what happens to the data, etc. And
Mhm.
someone mentioned that in other societies, the way that we look at privacy is not the same way that other countries look at privacy. And so, where we might be like, this is our information, it's mine, another society may say, well, information is ours anyway. And so, that privacy implication doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Is that something that you've seen? And do you think that is the reason that there has been some hesitancy in the United States to adopt, like, we have our privacy. It's important to us.
Yeah, I feel like I heard that too, like with like the ownership piece of it too. Like
Mhm.
this is you can't own an idea, but you can in the United States, right? But it is everybody's. I do, yeah, I do wonder about that. What an amazing class, though, you could have thinking about this and really thinking about the tools we're using and what are the costs of the tools we're using and what are the things we're willing to be doing to have these tools or not willing to be allowing. But we can't have those conversations if we don't teach anybody about it.
Well, yes. And from what I'm hearing from you, though, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're seeing that in many ways AI can almost democratize the learning experience. But starting first, they have to learn about it. But there is this opportunity there where more people have access to
Oh,
knowledge and to learning. Is that, have I captured kind
oh,
of where you are?
I think absolutely. I mean, there are it's possibilities. It's what's our intention? How are we using it?
Yeah, like, what is the end game? And that is a great question to ponder. It's just, it's very interesting to me. In terms of the possibility, again, I am not sure in if it's democratizing education. I mean, we heard that with personalized learning, we heard that with the internet, we heard that with the mocks, the class, these massive online courses, like all of
Right.
these things we're supposed to do for learning
Right.
what I haven't seen done because I could walk into a classroom today in a school and still see desk and rows
Yes.
and the teacher in the front. You would have someone say, like, oh my gosh, that's a bad thing. But then I look at like, hey, that's how my parents were taught, and they ended up being mathematicians. So I needed a different kind of learning experience. And then that's the type of learning experience I tried to provide as a teacher because I knew how, just what I needed.
Yes.
And so I try to teach that way. But I don't want to take out the value of direct teaching. Is there room for that type of teaching in your view? Or do we get the desk out? Do we break down the walls?
This is just my opinion. We still have things that we're trying to make sure that we know and we understand. And sometimes you have to explicitly teach something, and that's just how that goes, you know? I mean, I love to try to have the meaning making happen and create the experience for students as much as possible, but sometimes you are just going to have to be like, okay, and we're going to draw the circles and we're going to divide the 12 things into these circles, and this is what it looks like. And you're going to, you know, have that explicitly taught.
You know what? Teaching is my second career. And I'm so thankful. It was just like the perfect fit because I literally, coming in being a second career, my head was like, I want kids to learn how I learned. And I knew it was like, what is the most crazy thing? My poor principals, I'm sure that there were many baby aspirin, but I felt like if I had been in a different situation where they were like, you can't do this, I know now how protected I was. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, it was the effectiveness as well, right? So you
Yeah.
have to get the results. I say all this to say is that you said that you are working with neurodivergent learners.
Yes.
And I'm curious about how you see the impact of artificial intelligence with neurodivergent learners. Are you seeing a lot of positives? Has that caused you to be more nuanced than you are now, or has it caused you to go in one direction or another?
I feel like it's very powerful in, again, being able to access ideas. We just did a history class and talking about having the crazy room. Like we turned my room into a rainforest, mountain, imaginary civilization. We made a script. We had developed our entire country, like what was the geography, what is the religion of this, and it was all based off of what we had studied all year. But we did use some of the AI for writing some of the script because everyone can have that access and have that conversation together. And it's just the ideas that we're focusing on the most. We did some playing around too with imagery and like, oh, what do we want things to look like? And so then it was just so interesting because we're doing so much creative writing in this other way. It's just capturing the skill in a different way. I think the possibilities, depending how you're using it, can be so, so powerful and just allow access that was withheld before. I want the student to have access and to be able to share all of their awesome ideas, which may be, 3, 4 grade levels above where they're at, but because they can currently perform, that was in quotations, by the way, 2 or 3 grade levels below. How fair is that? And what kind of self-talk does that give to students too?
I think that goes back to the heart of it. It's like, it create pathways that allow learners to show or to represent their acquisition of knowledge in ways that embrace their uniqueness as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to standardization, which has been, our norm in education systems around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is a tough question. And I think it's going to take some time to figure out. I also agree with you that when we're collecting this data from students, regardless of where they are, that is also going to have an impact. And I'm curious about what you think in terms of that last piece, right? I mean, we're talking about, the pedagogy, the nuance. Is it necessary? What's happening is that from the start, people are collecting data to make predictions about what's going to happen to a learner as they go through this process, and how does this data collection ultimately lead, and what are the implications for our students? Because we stop AI tomorrow or not, there is still this question of data and what we're
Right.
doing with it. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts there? Like, what do you think the impact is for our kids? Does this extend the AI argument? Is it even a part of the AI argument? Is it something that's separate? And do you see that impacting your students, this
Yeah.
data collection?
A lot of the tools we use at school, it's still protected, but yeah, it is also still stored somewhere. And that's another thing I've just recently been thinking about too. Like, I'm horrible at deleting my messages. My email box is embarrassing. But someone had said that to me the other day too. Well, that has to be stored somewhere. And I was like, I need to go clean my inbox because, like, for me, I was like, oh, who cares? And I have storage and it doesn't matter, but it does because it does have to be stored somewhere. One of the units I talk about is this sustainability unit. We're looking and thinking about how are things impacting our region. And I'm thinking that's going to be one of the ones that we'll be focusing on in the future.
Right now, there is no right answer. There is no yes or no. And ultimately, we need, in this ed tech, in this AI conversation, in the impact conversation, we need to add nuance. That
Yes.
is the missing link in terms of where we need to go. I'm so appreciative of starting off this summer series that way because, again, it's one thing to take sides. It's another thing to say, if people are working through this AI question, there is no one right answer
Right.
right now. And
Yes.
so,
Yes. Be comfortable to say we have no idea. This
right,
is my
right.
best way forward right now that I know. And that might change in a month when I have new information.
Right. You never
Yeah.
know. This has been an amazing conversation. I am so appreciative. It's been nuanced, it's been deep. Hopefully, we have surfaced questions for people to ask themselves as they're continuing on their own AI journey. As part of the Detour degree, I do have a couple of closing questions that I have for you. And so the first one is, what is one unexpected experience that taught you more than school ever could?
Yeah. For sure, like just living all the different places that I have has just changed me so, so profoundly. I mean, I've gotten to live in Germany and Dubai and the country of Georgia. And I think just each time you learn so much. When you learn more about other people, you're also like learning more about yourself too, and kind of having to self-reflect. It's funny because like even now that I'm back in the States now for 4 years, it's also like each new class that I have. It's just realizing every time you are with this new little community that you make, how different it is, and like just how much you're constantly learning and changing and shifting your perspective because every year, every day, someone's going to bring you something that maybe challenges something you thought before if you're open to it.
Very cool. So I'm also curious, who or what gave you permission to take a different route?
It's me giving myself permission to trust myself and maybe also being an undiagnosed neurodivergent student myself and kind of knowing how to mask, how to fit in, how to comply to get the good grades, to be the good person that people liked, and then not talking, I think, a lot too. Like when I talk to my students, they're like, you must have been so popular and talked all the time. And I was like, oh, I didn't like speak because I was so weird in my head and I wasn't going to say out loud because what if I said the weird thing and I wouldn't want to be judged? And now I'm just like, I'm just going to say the things. And I just decided that for myself and it's worked out okay. I think it's also has to go like with being wrong and that being okay. It all kind of goes together, maybe.
It all works out, right?
Yes.
You think at the time that something is like, why is this happening? And then you'll look back and say, that's why. And it all fits into place, right?
Yeah, like this is terrible right now, but it's okay because something else is next. We'll figure out what that is.
Bigger and better things. If you
Yeah.
could go back to your younger self in terms of one detour to take, what
Yeah.
would it be?
Join a band when you are young. Go and like, I remember in college there was, a sign to have a singer, and I was like, oh, I'm not that good. I'm not going to do it. But as an adult, I have joined a band, and my husband got me voice lessons a year and a half ago because it's like what I always wanted when I was a kid. And so he got that for me. And then I joined a school of rock band, and then now I've made my own band, and it is so fun. And it does not matter if I'm the best singer, but it's like I have this group of people and we play music together and I get to dance around and I just feel so alive afterwards. And I just wish I wish I would have did that like 25 years ago.
Okay, that is like the coolest thing. Rachel Lugo, rock star.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. This has been a great conversation for the Detour Degree. And as we close, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share in terms of our conversation today or anything else you have on your mind?
Teaching was my second career, and I think it was something that I just completely fell in love with because being able to teach how in a way that I wish I had been taught. But I think to just lean into the discomfort and the ambiguity, and like I know it's scary to let students lead sometimes, but even if it's something that you're not comfortable with, just give it a try for a little bit, and just those connections that you get to have when you have that vulnerability to mess up and to own messing up, I think it just makes a huge difference. So like that was one of the things I was excited about when ChatGPT was released. I was like, oh, we're gonna have to be human. We're gonna have to be a community. Because that's, if this can do all the other things, that's what's important. So build your community.
That is awesome. Thank you again. And we are appreciative of your time today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I loved it.
The road to AI implementation is unlikely to be a straight line. There will be unexpected turns, new discoveries, and moments that challenge what we think we know. Thank you, Rachel Lugo, for helping us navigate the nuance. And thank you for joining us on this detour. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep finding meaning in the road less graded.